All right, back at it this week, division game, our first of the season. We view this as a huge opportunity for our team. Big picture where we're at in the season, we understand that, but our focus is 100% on the Chicago Bears and having the best week of prep we can have. They're coming off of a really impressive performance, at Washington. They've got some extra time, have had some extra time to prepare for us, so we expect it to be, a typical NFC North road challenge. Which is always something. Could be some weather elements, different things. So we've got to prepare our team accordingly. Just an update, we did put Justin Jefferson and Nick Mullins on injured reserve. We're going to go ahead and bring up N'Keal Harry and Tristan Jackson at the receiver position to the active roster, as well as we did bring in Troy Fumagalli, a tight end for our practice squad. Brought back Dan Chisena and Sean Mannion as well into the quarterback room. I do want to thank Tanner Morgan for his short time here. He's already started his coaching career over there at the U, and appreciate Coach Fleck letting him take a couple days to come join us. And what an impressive kid Tanner is, and he's got a heck of a future ahead of him for sure. But with that, I'll open it up to you guys.
Kevin, do you go into the week then with the idea that Jaron Hall is the number 2 quarterback?
Yeah, Jaron's going to be the number 2. He was last week. Thought he did a really nice job kind of in his preparation with Chris and Grant. We would go in with, a little bit slightly modified plan for him as we move forward, just where he can have total ownership of what I would call if he were to be called into action. But I think it's great for him, all part of that development that we've talked about, the different phases of it, from being that emergency third guy, throughout these first 4 or 5 weeks or so, to now shifting into a role where he's really a snap away. And how does his preparation, match that? It's been really strong for a young guy, kind of finding his weekly rhythm. And we'll keep on supporting him and helping him grow every day. And getting reps versus our defense in practice is certainly a good thing for him, dealing with, running the show and some of the things our defense do, they consistently do to apply pressure on the quarterback, and I think all of that is leading to a place where he's just having daily growth and development, so he'll be the number 2.
Do you anticipate this 4 weeks for Justin being enough to get him where he needs to be in terms of recovery and come back that 5th week, or what's your anticipation of the time frame?
With hamstrings, I don't want to speculate on exactly when it'll be, but I know he feels pretty good, considering kind of where some guys feel at this point in the process, having just been this past Sunday, and it's just going to be about all that entails to go through the process to where he can have some time to start feeling like he can be at full speed again, as explosive as he is, and that'll be a process he'll work through. Hopefully we can get that window opened up and see where he's at at that time.
Do you anticipate end of all season or anything
I do
along
not.
those lines?
Did the MRI show that the strain was?
As far as the grade, once again, I know some of the things that have been explained to me, but it was significant enough that we felt the best thing for him was to put him on short-term IR.
And what has been your evaluation of the offensive line over the last 2 weeks, and just how have you seen that group maybe progress?
Yeah, I think really going back to really the Chargers game, when we really felt like the run game emphasis we had really tried to put in post that Thursday game at Philly. We had a great week of practice doing those things, and then that showed up in that game. And there's really been pretty consistent stretches there. I know we've had, based upon how kind of the game went the other day, we kind of got away from it there once, Kansas City had those 2 drives in the second half. But I've been very happy with where that group of guys, Josh and TJ and Johnny on the edges, CJ in the backfield, how they've kind of taken ownership of what, some of the things we really emphasized, and we've seen it show up with Alex and Cam and Ty. But the other thing that's kind of jumped out is I think when you do have some success and you start feeling a little bit more physical, connected in the run game combinations, I think that carries over a little bit to the pass pro. How you can potentially lean on opponents, stay efficient, which is great for me as a play caller. But also I think we're seeing some better, more consistent pass protection for Kirk. And I don't think it's a coincidence he was able to do some things kind of off schedule in the game when the protection was good. He worked through his progressions and was able to find some eligibles. Jordan on that big play to set up a 3rd down. Even the one where we got a holding call on BO, him finding Cam, kind of climbing to his check down. There was just some things where I think it was growth for Kirk to kind of feel, what that pocket can feel like, and then how do I move within that to maybe create or extend, a play on schedule or off schedule. We had a couple hits there on him late where bringing zero pressures, didn't get the can on the last one, so they ended up having a free runner there. But all in all, I thought the protection was really solid.
You touched on it the other day, just the amount of attention Justin attracts
Yeah.
on a game-by, snap-by basis. How much does his absence change the way the offense itself functions?
Yeah, I think it'll just change purely because since, I've been here, we've dealt with that every opportunity we've had of making sure that our best player, we are featuring him regardless of what teams try to do to take him out of the game plan. That's meant some opportunities sometimes for other guys. That's meant some growth from him beating double teams consistently, over the past 20, however many games or so. But I think it's a great opportunity you even saw it later in the game the other day, a guy like Brandon Powell coming in the game, KJ, and clearly Jordan's, having a significant impact on our offense. Can we get TJ going and Josh Oliver going on some of those early downs? And then continue to build plans where all those guys, all 5 eligibles, feel like they can come to life. And Kirk's going to find the open guy and move the team.
Kevin, how did Nick get hurt in practice, and what does Sean give you coming in?
Yeah, it was, there wasn't like an actual moment where it happened. I know he just kind of one day felt some stiffness and soreness in there. And, we kind of went into eval mode on it and trying to really figure out what was going on. And it was kind of deemed to be, once again, something that's not a long-term for the season type scenario. But we wanted to give him that time. And with Sean, I think there's a lot of great factors there as far as he's not going to be able, he's coming into this, not having the ability to get a lot of reps in our offense, but his, Sean's football IQ, his ability to go in there and run our offense and make sure all the other 10 guys in the huddle know exactly what to do, the checks, we can basically run our offense as is with Sean from a perspective of the quarterback's role mentally. Clearly, he hasn't had the reps with our group that, we would call it like that. But I think you can't underestimate his impact as well in the quarterback room. He's a guy, aspiring coach. He works like that. He takes notes like that. I think he's a great support system for Kirk over their time together. So I was excited to, get Sean back in the room. I think it'll be great for Jaron as well to be around a guy like Sean. And Nick will still be heavily involved in the meeting room and kind of our preparation process.
With Kirk, do you get lulled to sleep on the backup quarterback? I mean, he's always there. He's there every week, knock on wood. But how important is this week? How big a deal can this be when you have to have that second guy ready?
Yeah, I think every week moving forward until, Nick can return, it's going to be significant. And, I know some of you guys know this, but my history at the position, really going back to my time in LA where, Jared gets dinged up late in the year and John's got to come in for really a gotta-have-it type game to get into the playoffs, which we win. And then going back even further than that in Washington, once Kirk left, significant injury. Really to Alex there in 18 was catastrophic, and then we played 3 other guys the rest of that year, some of which came in the week of. And as that position coach, I remember what that felt like. And then in 19, it was kind of with Case and Dwayne and some different things. There was very similar. So my background is one where I think the moment you neglect any area of your preparation, this league has a way of, making you pay for it. Now, with that being said, Kirk has been so durable, and he continuously walks into that huddle with great presence, command, regardless of circumstance. And you do kind of get to a point where, that's kind of one of the last things you think about or worry about. But I think it's my job to make sure we're prepared in those moments.
No surgery for Nick Mullins?
No.
Kevin, when it comes to N'Keal Harry's, the guy who kind of came in late, what did he show you that made you want to keep him on the practice squad and now elevate?
Yeah, he, a lot of the things that he showed throughout camp and really when he got I believe he got that hamstring injury pregame, kind of before, I want to say whether it was the second game or the third, our last preseason game, he was going to get significant work. in that game, which was so disappointing because of the camp he had. All he's done since he got here is he's physical in the run game. He provides something a little different at his size than we have in the room. We've got many capable blockers, but he brings a level of physicality, and then contested catch. I mean, you guys probably saw a lot of the plays he made in training camp in one-on-one situations, and then I think he fits as a savvy kind of a guy that's played some football. Fits in that group really well. Different skill set, but yet we can find ways for him to be effective, and looking forward to seeing him get a little bit more involved.
That's a big question.
Kevin, obviously, JJ takes so much attention wherever he is on the field.
Yep.
Is there an area of the field you see his gravity show up most, like where defenses?
Well, the situational downs. I mean, we're consistently seeing true double team coverage, not just a zone coverage where there's a couple guys aware of them. We're seeing two human beings covering them in different capacities. So third down, red zone, where they truly want to make us go elsewhere with the football. We found, different ways at different times to still activate him and have some successful plays against those looks, but also what it's done for Jordan in some of those downs. And, he has 2 long touchdowns on 3rd and 10 pluses this year where essentially he finds single coverage and the ability, when the pocket allows, to attack downfield. So I think it's those situational downs, but then how does not having them affect, those early downs? Are we going to see as much shell coverage that we've, kind of historically seen, since we kind of been here? And if not, how do we have to retool both our run and pass game to make sure we're accounting for the looks that we're going to get? There's no kind of real excuse to say Monday morning, oh, shucks, it was different. We've got to plan accordingly for both, and that's where I feel comfortable with our system doing that.
Does it make it any easier to prepare knowing that the looks you might see on tape are going to be similar to what you might get when Justin's not on the field?
Yeah, I think so, but it's also, they've kind of gone through a scenario where they have a new play caller, and it's their head coach, and I have so much respect for Coach Eberflus and what he does defensively, and now that he's calling it, you can feel, his flavor, his his background maybe showing up, and it could be as simple as just a play call here or there, but you notice that, those guys play incredibly hard, which has always been, a staple of his defenses, but schematically they're very, very sound, and so we've got to be aware of that as well, where, the breakdown's going back long enough, and we're taking a look at tape. We played them twice last year, just how that might evolve in real time.
You talk about the opportunities that Jefferson obviously opens up for other guys. How different could this be for a guy like Jordan Addison, who's kind of benefited from that and will now have to play maybe more straight up? Yeah,
I think it's definitely something snap in and snap out that could show up, and that's where all 11 guys have to do their job, and we've got to give them a good plan to take on a challenging group. But, I think regardless of circumstance, Jordan's shown up and consistently did exactly that, done his job, gets open, catches the ball, yards after catch, and I think he's been a real positive, knowing, our hopes. And shoot, he was one of the favorite players I evaluated in the draft, and couldn't have been more excited when Kwesi pulled the card, and since then it's just been, it's been positive after positive, outside of driving a little fast one time. So I think, my expectation is we hit the gas with Jordan this weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
No pun intended.